Under your guidance, Ranj, Nurosene has been taken into an IPO barely a year after inception. Honestly, when I read that, you probably saw, I was like congratulating you and I was so intrigued about this. And I want to ask you about this. Why choose to go the IPO route at this stage in the game when most people would be fundraising using the usual suspects like crowdfunding, hedge funds, angel and venture capitalist raises? Why did you decide to do this? I'm so curious.
Well, the idea for Nurosene was actually in 2019. I think it was a couple of guys got together in a parking lot and they came up with the idea and they started building it. And then, it's definitely grown over the last year. And then, like I said, I joined back into last year. And the reason, I wanted to go down the IPO route was, and I understand it gives us a lot more scrutiny, right? We're in the public eye. I had to clean up my Instagram, because we're, who knows what's in there. I'm pretty squeaky clean, you know that.
I know that.
But it gives us access to all sorts of first of all, I didn't want to go down the VC route because the traditional VC, and I've raised capital for other companies. I feel like going down the VC route, you have to fit in the constructs of VC. They want to, how many users do you have? How much revenue do you have? The minute you say that, it's like, oh yeah, I passed on that. It's already done, and it's not in that growth mode. So we're building a very different company, right? So going down the IPO route, we closed more than I expected. We were oversubscribed and closed at an incredible valuation.
Yes.
And it's been growing since. It's been kind of crazy. But it gives us access to different kinds of capital, like traditional institutional investors, wealth management, individual retail investors who are also our customers as well, and investment banks as well. So all of this keeps us kind of honest as well, keeps us in the public eye, and basically the money we've raised is really to fund a lot of M&A. And that's what we're doing. We're going to be growing M&A into ancillary business that complement the offering that we're doing, and also help us with growth and building market cap of the company. So there's a real solid reasoning behind it. And now I have, as mentioned to you earlier, just before the call, fundraising's never done, right? So I'm going out, I'm doing the roadshow, and we're going to continue to build. But it gives us the ammunition to go and do the things that we really want to do. And I want to build a conglomerate in mental health. Right, and stay in our lane, but build something incredible with all these pieces coming together to help with our pathway to help people find solutions.
Being a creative CEO takes a lot of guts. You've got a lot of guts, sweetheart. Can you share with everyone out there who are kind of grappling with this whole idea of kind of really putting themselves out there when it comes to some of the ideas that they have? Because, we know statistics prove that a lot of ideas never come to fruition because people just don't have the guts to kind of take it to where it needs to go. So I want to get your perspective on that. How can people set their minds around being able to understand how to really kind of push forward their company where it needs to go and kind of not allow the fear factor to kind of get in the way of that?
I think I kind of got over that many years ago when I moved to the States. So this was, I've been in the US now for just over 20 years, and I moved right in the middle of that big, the downturn, right, the big crash, and I got an opportunity to move with my company. I was with Intel at the time. And they said, move to Santa Clara, move to, their head office. And I was like, am I going to do this right now with so much uncertainty? And I thought, what, am I ever going to get an opportunity like this? So I took a risk, and it was incredible. And then when I started, I was with Intel for a number of different years. And I mean, my background, I studied there. Yes, because I needed a creative outlet, music was always in the blood, and, I was always doing that. And then this caught the attention of some venture capitalists, like, you should go and do this. I'm like, but I've got this amazing paying job, and why do I want to go and do something like this, which is doing that? And then why not? If I don't do this now, it's never going to happen. So I took another risk, and it was incredible because there was so much positivity, and it was the support that I got around that, and it paid off. And then even now, I'm doing something which I don't know where this is going to go right now, but I would say to anyone is when you got an idea, in a smart way, shape it, nurture it, build the plan around it. But then when you've got all those pieces, then you're the only one stopping you to actually going and doing it. So, go and make it happen.
Absolutely. Wise words. And, you know, if you think about the amount of people out there that we look up to, you know, if they hadn't kind of heeded those words that you just shared right now and just kind of, you know, bit the bullet and just move forward, there's a lot of innovation that wouldn't have happened, right? So it's important to think about whether you want to be that person or not. And it's okay if you don't. You know, there's some people that, you know, not everyone's made to kind of take those kind of risks. So let me ask you, I want to go back into the IPO decision that you had, RANJ. What is it that you hope to accomplish from this particular IPO decision? Like, let's just encapsulate that for a second.
So kind of, you know, I was mentioning already, it's given us the runway now to go and start building. It's given me runway. You know, I'm in crazy like hiring mode right now. You know, we've been bootstrapping like every other startup, right?
Yeah.
You know, we didn't know how much capital we were going to raise, and you know, now it's got to a stage where we need to execute on the grand vision, and that's what it's allowed us to do. It's allowed us to exhale slightly, just to say, okay, well, what are the pieces that we need to put in place to start growing? How do we start testing the different things? Because right now, you know, there's a lot of like, we don't know, but we're going to test. I'm a big believer in like throw different few pieces out there, evaluate, help them, you know, guide where you're going. But you know, for us, it's you know, it's growth now. Now I'm going to start unfolding the story even more. Get people behind the charge that we're building something that everyone. It really isn't just like a product push. It's like everyone actually needs this. And that's the thing that is really important for everyone that's in a company. You'll find from my founder to myself and everyone on the team, we're so passionate about what we're building, and that comes through. Everyone loves being here because like we couldn't wait to get this app out there. And the first iteration of it is get people comfortable understanding it. It's kind of like the first iPhone. Don't give everyone, you know, if you put this thing in people's hands right now, for people that had never seen it before, like, oh, well, I don't know what this thing is. So we're chipping away at its pieces, but it's allowing us that growth opportunity. It's allowing us that room to keep on building and start bringing in complementary solutions, as I mentioned, through the M&A. And it's important for us to be able to have that flexibility and not like, I think if I was under the VC route, in 2-3 years, they're like, you need to be here. We're looking for an exit. Great to hear. I don't want to do that. I want to go wherever this is needed and be conscious of that constantly. And that, you know, being in this public eye, being guided by that gives us a lot of access and room to grow more freely.
Right. So for those people looking to fundraise, RANJ, you've done it numerous times. When is the right time to do that?
There's not one answer that fits all. I would say it really depends on where do you need to go as a company? Why do you need to fundraise, right? So I would recommend, and I've given this advice to many people, bootstrap as long as you can. Generally, you know, this company build is slightly different, but bootstrap as long as you can, because obviously you're owning more equity, and only think about fundraising when you're very clear of what that use of funds is going to be for. Right. And when you're also ready and ready to execute on a plan that let's say that funding did come in, you know that you can execute, and also, you know, there also should be a growth plan, like if you raise more than you needed. But just really thinking about that, like what do you need those funds for? What's going to help you with? Are you, and have you done enough investigation into the market to know that if you turn this thing on, that this thing will scale?
So how do you know whether to IPO or traditional fundraise? Like, how do you know which way to go for those people who have never fundraised before? I mean, and then there's also hybrid models, right? People do a bit of both, which is what you're doing.
Yeah. So I've got a lot of, this isn't, first of all, this isn't me. I've got a whole team of very smart people behind me that have, I've never taken a company public before. And, I've learned a lot through this process. It's a process. It's a long drawn out process. I've done it in record time. We did it in 4 months, where people take a year and beyond. Even that I felt like was, longer than I wanted, because there's all sorts of like delays in the regulators because of backlogs coming out of the pandemic. But that's me. I'm on that momentum train. It's like, I want it done. But it's not for everyone. Any startup, unless you've got the kind of resources that I had to support you and guide you through that process, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But I also had this bigger idea of what we're going to be doing and what we're shaping to build this like grander vision for the company. So what I would recommend for people is find strategic investors. You don't need to go out to venture capitalists off the bat. I find, and sorry to knock a lot of VCs, but a lot of them are like ambulance chasers, like, oh, let me see who else is, and then they jump on the train. Before that, it's like, yeah, I'm not sure what it is and when to jump in. Find strategics that some individuals that can help you, help to fund you or help you fundraise, so through their networks, and but also guide the strategic vision of what you're building, because these guys have probably done it over and over. Serial entrepreneurs have probably done some incredible things. Get some guidance of people like that. I think it's super important. But get some really good angels, I think, first.
Absolutely. I completely agree with what you said there. And it also helps you to not give up so much of equity as well, right? That's the other big piece of this, is giving up too much too soon. So let me ask you this, RANJ. What, in your experience, now that you have kind of walked in the shoes of being a CEO and, done something quite innovative quite early on for, considering traditional, ways of growing companies, what would you say is the magic criteria that makes for a strong CEO?
I think kind of coming back to the point you're making right at the beginning is that creativity, right? So someone who has that vision to not be so regimented, to be someone who's compassionate, to listen to all the people around him, the team, the extended team of people, and to understand how this thing is going to just grow together, and be creative enough to think about all those things coming together, of how they are going to fit in the constructs of really building an exciting brand. As the CEO, you have to be, while I'm, I have my day-to-day stuff, I have to be that visionary. People are constantly coming, well, where do you see this going? What do you do? They're always asking for those ideas. So I'm not saying I'm a micromanager, but I get involved in everything, right?
Right.
From supply chain to design, and I'm in the weeds on design, because that's a lot of my background as being a marketeer. And
yes.
I love design, and that's kind of beginning to come through with the company. But just to really understand every groups and departments and individuals' pain points, and be considerate of that, but also being a real leader that is very definitive when you have to make decisions, because sometimes it's like, oh God, what's going on? Not sure. Sometimes you just got to go with it, go with your gut, and but to be a very considered person that's making that decision.
Absolutely. You are such a hands-on CEO. You're the perfect kind of startup CEO. You're the kind of CEO that people want to be their CEO, because they feel that you're kind of, vested in what they're doing as well. And that's really a key fundamental leadership, thing that people have to think about. Is a lot of people like these titles and, like the idea of being a boss, but to be a true boss is to be a leader that lifts up everyone that's in your team. And that's kind of what you're saying here, is that, you like to kind of see what everyone's up to, and you're genuinely, vested in them doing their best. This is what I'm hearing you say.
And it comes across, right? So I talk to my team. First of all, I've not met anyone on my team. This is the world we live in, right? So we speak on Zoom calls every day, and I'm running this company from LA, and everyone else is in Toronto.
Wow.
But yeah, just like I said, it comes across when every single one of them is so passionate to go over and above. These guys working late nights and weekends, which I don't, I'm not asking that of people, but they're so passionate. It's like, we really want this to succeed, and they feel empowered. And I think that's really important, to make sure that people feel a part of what we're building.
Right, absolutely. So in this particular role, RANJ, as CEO, what specifically have you learned that perhaps you feel that maybe you wouldn't have learned not being in the role of CEO? Because you've had some really interesting senior, positions across multiple companies. And I kind of, I'm interested in your answer, because oftentimes when I speak with CEOs, they're founder CEOs, which is a different kind of a CEO to someone that has been in the game in senior levels of management in different industries, that is now coming into this role. So I'd love to know your thoughts on, what have you learned in this role that perhaps you may not have learned in the things that you've done before?
I think, and I've managed teams in my career before, and
Yes.
I always delegate, and you have to, because otherwise you're doing everything. I think the thing that I've learned the most is to respect everyone's capabilities, strengths, differences as well. And I think what was which was really welcoming, my founder, Daniel Gallucci, when, he kind of like opened his arms to me, like coming in as, you always wonder, like, how's he going to be? He's the founder and I'm coming in as a CEO. But, when he taught me that, it's like, like I can take, I can't run this company, right? I know my strengths, and he's brilliant in what he does, but he needed some support from someone like me to come and help and guide and shape the company and be that visionary. And we have an amazing relationship, and that taught me, I think, through as we I've inherited people, but we've also been hiring people. But we're hiring people for a reason. We're hiring people because of those strengths, and to really respect that. All these people come in with with something incredible to offer, and I've hired them for those reasons, or I've empowered them for those reasons. And to keep respecting that, and that's when I feel that you get the most out of people, and more so than anything, when as much as they're looking to me to be that visionary, I'm learning from all these people. Like, okay, what is the direction of this company? I'm learning from the people that I'm around. Like, they're helping shape that. And so we're all in this together, right? So that's what I've learned the most is we're building something incredible. And the reason this is going to win, and I know it's going to win, is because everyone is working towards that same goal, and because they feel empowered.
It's so interesting because do you remember off the top of this conversation, I've given you my definition of what I feel a creative CEO is. And I mentioned to you that the most fundamental thing is to, be able to do one thing with a company and that stay on point with the company's vision, and to build everything around that. And this is exactly what you're saying. So I guess I must be doing a thing or two right myself. Huh?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I have to ask you this question because you've worked with so many different types of founders over the years, and so many in your network, and many of them are women. So I got to ask you this. Statistics show that women-founded companies are more successful than male-founded companies on certain levels, yet they get less than 10% of funding, right? Having been around a lot of founders, male, female, at different levels, what would you say to female founders looking to close the funding raise gap that could be tied into being a creative CEO? Like, what have you seen that they've done wrong that perhaps they could do better? I think the question.
A very interesting question. And, I've been surrounded by, very, very powerful women like yourself. Pyle, who's the founder of ClassPass. I think you might have had her on the show.
Yeah, of course.
My ex. I didn't think I'd be talking about her, but she you remember? So when I started Desi Hits, she came in and was the figurehead. She became the CEO of Desi Hits.
Yes.
And I think something that always resonated with me was she would. And this was way back in the day. She would get people coming to her, women coming to her saying, it's really tough out there. We're trying to fundraise. It's like, we just don't get a look in. It's just not fair, right? And Angela, being this, she's a power woman, right?
She is incredible.
Yeah, and she's like, you know what? I'm gonna, I'm not gonna cry foul. I'm gonna be like, you know what? I'm just gonna go out there and do it, right? Because it's just too easy to say like, we dealt a hard card, but I'm just gonna go out there and do it and use my strengths, use my differences, right? Her differences as being this South Asian woman who, her background wasn't like, she was certainly educated, but she was not educated in the fields that she was building. She'd never been a CEO before, but she's like, no, I'm just gonna go out there and do it. And you think about what we achieved, with Desi Hits, of like, if we wanted to get someone, just get to them. And I've used that mantra all the way through. Like, even now, some of the incredible people I've got involved with Nurosene, it's like, I'm just gonna call them up. Like, what? Sorry to excuse my French, but like, I'm gonna be ballsy. I'm just gonna go out there and do it. And I think that goes back to females as well. Like just go out there and use your differences, use your creative differences, and feel like that is a competitive edge for you being different. Because think about the VC world. They've heard the same old story. There was a whole bunch of like guys, and come at it with something different. Come at it with that difference. Come at it from maybe some of the different emotions that you can evoke as being a woman, and use that to your strength. So I just think now's a better time more than ever. And we're all helping and supporting different communities just succeed and being much more supportive, and there's a lot more opportunities out there. Take advantage of it, go out there, use your advantages, I think it's a great time. So
I completely agree. I don't think there's ever been a better time in human history that's ever been recorded that better positions women to get allyship from men than they've ever gotten before, and also to be able to put their differences forward and for them to be a positive narrative rather than, you look at all the years that it's been a negative narrative. So I think that shift alone is something that really could change the game. And I'm probably going to get beaten up for saying this, Ranj, but I'm kind of in a place where I'm done listening to people whine, including women. I'm a woman, so I can say that. And I'm like, it is what it is. So what are you going to do about it? Right? Like, exactly. Where are we putting our energy here? Are we going to put our energy into actually getting something from our narrative? Or are we going to keep pandering to the narrative that we've been forced to live? So I think that there's a lot of kind of mindset shifting that needs to happen there. And we need to just get up and support each other, get the support of male allyship. Because I really feel that at the end of the day, most of the financing dollars are controlled by men. Like, we can't get away from that being the fact. So if that's the fact, what are we going to do about that knowledge? Like, how are we going to get a bigger piece of that pie? And I think that that's the conversation that needs to be had, because I think the conversation about, people not accepting the narrative is ages old. Like, it's tired. Like, let's move from that and let's start to actually look for the support rather than look at all the things that we're not getting support from. I mean, that's me soapboxing, but I got to put it out there because, the amount of times that I've done different things and I'm like, put your big girl panties on, Raj, get out there and just get shit done. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So with that said, I got to ask you this as we get ready to close off, and there's so much more that I want to talk to you about, but, I know that we've got to kind of close this off now. So I want to ask you this, Ranj. Is there anything that you feel that I haven't asked you that you feel people need to know about Nurosene and that people need to know about being creative as a CEO?
I think just like the fact that, we're always going to be mindful of what we're building, and coming back to the responsibility to educate, the responsibility to make sure that we are always staying true to that mission of providing that support to people that need it most. So I want to be mindful of that, and we're taking we're at the beginnings of what we're building, and we're already on that pathway, and everybody's supported of that as well. So just to really never lose sight of that. And I think coming back to why we're in the public eye, and we are very much in the public eye. You're hearing it from me. We're not here to force people to pay for the app, and it would never change. You'll hear this from me, and it will never change. And I'm hoping that we're as we do more of these type of interviews, and we tell more of the Nurosene story, I want to invite people to come and be on this journey with us. So I think that's that's super important, because everyone's is now on a mental wellness journey and beginning to understand that this thing's so important. But let's not forget the people that are going through stuff. Let's not forget the people that are around us suffering with certain conditions, and be mindful of them as well and help them, right? I'm not saying that we need to provide our tools. I'm saying just help them with any support that they need, right? In this whole area of mental health, right? So, and then just on the creative side is, as a CEO, just thinking about creative ways to get that message across, right? And you're going to hear some very exciting things which are coming very, very soon. So
I can't. So that means that that's an opportunity to have you back on, right?
maybe after we've done some more incredible things down the road. So yeah.
Oh, I look forward to that, sweetheart. So let's send people over to where they can go to go get the app. You talked about the content as well. Is that on the app, or is it on a website? Like, how can people tell us how to navigate this? Yeah.
Yeah. So the easiest way is, download the app on the app store. It's called Neuro. So that's the brand. It's Neuro, the app. Our supplements are launching in the next few days on the e-commerce store.
Wow.
But you can find all that. Nurosene.com is the company. So you can find information there. And our Instagram is actually a really great place to get these little nuggets of information. I told you, that's been super well received. So you can see more of the story unfold there as well. So.
That's brilliant. What's the handle for that?
It's just Nurosene.
Okay, brilliant. And if anyone wants to go hang out with you on social, where do they go, RANJ?
You can find me on Twitter at RANJ BATH.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much, RANJ, for joining us for this really valuable breakdown on how to be a successful CEO, RANJ. Your insights for would-be CEOs are like manna from heaven. I could talk to you for so much longer. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on, sweetheart.
No, thank you. This has been fun.
I'm so glad. Folks, thanks for hanging out with RANJ and me today. I really hope that you got some real value from our discussion and that you understand why it's so important to be creative in any leadership role today. For more trainings like this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Open Chest Confidence Academy and our podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify. Search the Transform Your Confidence show. And I encourage you to join our free coaching newsletter community. Just head over to the website at www.theopenchestconfidenceacademy.com/newsletter. And finally, hop on over to our free professional development incubator at Facebook at Transform Your Confidence. Until next week, take care of yourselves.